David Drayton was a graphic artist living in the small town of Bridgeton, Maine with his wife Stephanie and young son Billy. One day, a violent storm swept through the town, knocking down power lines and trees, causing widespread damage. As soon as the storm passed, David and Billy went to the local grocery store to stock up on supplies, as the power was out and they couldn't cook or refrigerate any food at home. As they were shopping, a thick otherworldly mist rolled in, enveloping the entire town and trapping everyone inside the store. At first, the townsfolk believed that the mist was just a natural occurrence caused by the storm. However, it soon became apparent that something far more sinister was at work. As the mist thickened and the creatures within became more aggressive and deadly, tensions began to rise amongst the survivors. David and a group of survivors, including his neighbor Brent, the local schoolteacher Amanda, and a young soldier named Dan, decided to try and escape the store and find safety elsewhere. But as they ventured out into the mist, they were met with a series of gruesome and terrifying encounters, leaving them with little hope for survival. The group soon discovered that the mist was a doorway to another dimension and that the creatures within were not of this world. These creatures included giant insects, prehistoric monsters, and grotesque humanoids that were intent on killing and eating anything that crossed their path. As the group struggled to survive, they were forced to confront their own fears and prejudices, as well as the desperate measures that some of them would take to stay alive. In particular, tensions between David and Brent began to escalate, with Brent advocating for a more violent and aggressive approach to dealing with the creatures, while David tried to maintain a more cautious and rational approach. Despite the differences, the group managed to make their way to a nearby pharmacy, where they found a radio that allowed them to hear news reports from the outside world. However, the reports were grim, with the mist spreading to other parts of the country and the military unable to contain it. With no other options, the group decided to make a last-ditch effort to escape by driving through the mist in Brent's SUV. However, as they drove deeper into the mist, they encountered a massive creature that attacked their vehicle, killing several of them and leaving the rest stranded on foot. As they tried to make their way on foot, they were beset by even more horrific creatures, including a pack of feral dogs and a massive spider-like creature. In the end, only a handful of survivors remained, including David, his son Billy, Amanda, and Dan. With no hope of escape and supplies running low, the survivors were forced to take desperate measures to stay alive. At one point, they even resorted to cannibalism, eating the flesh of a dead survivor to stay alive. As their situation grew more desperate, David began to contemplate the ultimate sacrifice he might have to make to ensure his son's survival. In the movie's climactic scene, David and the remaining survivors stumble upon a group of soldiers who have been sent to investigate the mist. However, as they approach the soldiers, David realizes that he cannot bear to risk his son's life by exposing him to the horrors of the mist any longer. In a heart-wrenching decision, David shoots his son and the other survivors, leaving himself as the only survivor. As he begins to walk out into the mist, hoping to find his own death, he hears the sound of a military convoy approaching. David is left to ponder the ultimate sacrifice he had to make to survive and the haunting realization that he may never truly escape the horrors of the mist.